Good evening and welcome again to Parenting Part 4. Wow, how are we doing, parents? Especially with this COVID-19. Our children are back home, you know, the family is together, there's no work to go to, the children are not going to school, so everybody is in one place. And usually, when that happens, kids get bored, and when they are bored, inappropriate behaviors begin to show up. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about discipline. Now, the last time we had our video, I talked about the different types of parenting, and I want to say that this is the best time, especially for my first video. As many of you that have not seen it, please, I beg you, go to Facebook my name. What's my name now? Yemi Ojorumo Kudu. If you are my friend, just click on it. You will see some of the videos. We talked about family vision, family mission statement, and family core values. Now, kids are back home, and I remember in the first video I talked about us sitting down together as a family. If you don't have a family vision, and come up with your family vision, come up with your family mission statement, and also come up with your family core values. And the reason why this is important, so that your children can have a buy-in and they understand what the family is all about. They understand what is expected of them. So it's important that as they are home, one of the things that we can do as parents is to get them together and come up with what they want their family to look like. And like one of the things I said, that will make your family to be unique, and will also set some guidelines for your children to know what the expectations are, and also will help them to always know the right choices to take, or to the right choices to make. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about discipline. Not in total, but just some guidelines that will help us as we navigate our way through coronavirus environment that we're in. Because now I know parents will not allow kids to go out, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. We just heard today that is now airborne. So it keeps changing, and I just pray that the Lord will continue to keep us. The Lord is going to continue to protect us and guide us and lead us through this wilderness experience in the mighty name of Jesus. So today, I'm just going to talk briefly and just give us some clear guidelines briefly, because I don't know it all, but some of the things that have worked for me as a parent who have two young adults, some of the things that helped us to navigate our way from early childhood to now that they are adults. So when we talk about, last time we talked about different types of parenting, and I'm here to say to you today that parenting styles will change as your children grow, or parenting roles can also change as our children grow. For us now with young adults, our parenting styles has actually and completely changed, and also our roles have changed, because now I have a 25 and a 22, almost going to be 23 in a few months. But there are certain elements that cut across, whether you have a young child, whether you have a teenager, whether you have a young adult, or even if you have an adult, and that is, there are certain elements: respect, love, and discipline. These ones, they don't change and they never change. And I also want to say to us today that no child is too young to be disciplined, but our discipline must be age appropriate. No child is too young to be disciplined, but the discipline must be age appropriate. Discipline must be age appropriate. Now, we have our terrible tools. Even our 2-year-old has to be disciplined, but those measurements of discipline has to be appropriate for their age group. Another thing I want to quickly say is this: as parents, we must be on the same page when it comes to discipline our children. It's important. It is important, fathers, that when mom is disciplining the child, you don't go and say something negative. She's too young. And don't you think you are too hard? It is enough. or mothers, we are the ones that are guilty. Makwa Milomo, don't kill my child for me. When we take that kind of step, number one, you are pitching your child against your husband, against the father of the child. And number two, you are showing to your child that the father is a villain or a villain. That is not supposed to be. Both parents must always be on the same page. Now, if you think your spouse is too hard on the child, I will counsel that either you be quiet or you go away from there, and then later on you speak to your spouse about it, but never do it in the presence of your children. Because what's going to happen is that your children will play you against one another. And what does that also mean? It means that you and your partner, or you and your spouse, are not going to be on the same page. There's not going to be unity. There's not going to be oneness. And that's not going to be good for your children. And then, what is discipline? I got this from the internet. It says, discipline is the process of teaching your child what type of behavior is acceptable and what type of behavior is not acceptable. I repeat, discipline is the process of teaching your child the behaviors that are acceptable and the behaviors that are not acceptable. So you teach your children to follow rules. That's just what it is. You teach your children to follow rules. Remember what we talked about, the family core values? This is where it comes in. This is one of the reasons why your core value, family values are very important, because it's easy for you to show your child, now this is our core values, and you've broken it. And I can assure you that when your kids know what the family core values are, because they are part of the progress, not the progress, the process, you'll find that it's easier for them to have appropriate behaviors. It is easier for them to know what the expectations are. It is easier for them to know what the rules are and to follow them, because they have been part of the process of developing or designing family core values, family mission statement, and of course the family vision. So we're saying that discipline is the process of teaching your child what is expected and what is not acceptable. Behaviors that are not acceptable and behaviors that are acceptable. Discipline can also be teaching your child, molding your child to follow rules. Now, we have to understand that there are some effective discipline tools. Effective discipline uses effective tools. Effective discipline uses effective tools. Now, what are some of them? Number one, you can model. You show and tell. It is said that that what your child hears and what your child sees, they will never forget. But if they hear and they don't see, they would forget. So it's important that when we talk about modeling, you want to model the appropriate behavior or the behavior that is acceptable in your family. And then I also want to say that we use positive reinforcement. The high fives, the well done, the great job, or especially that child that gets into trouble all the time. You want to look for that time when the child is doing something right. For example, the child would never sit. When you say sit, it stands. And then the child sits, you can say, oh, well done, Johnny. I see that you are sitting down quietly. So we are reinforcing that behavior of him of sitting down, which is a behavior that you want. Because most of the times as parents, we are always hammering, always showcasing the bad behaviors. So effective discipline tools is also for you to catch them when they are doing the right thing. Now listen to them. That's another thing that we don't do. We never listen to our children, especially when they are out of line, especially when they've done something wrong. We never get to listen to them. I would advise we listen to them, because some of the times in listening to them, you find out the reason why they have done that behavior, why that behavior came up, why they have done what they've done. And some of the time they may not even understand, they may not even know that behavior is wrong. So want to listen to them to understand the reasoning behind their behavior, why they did it. And that will give you also an opportunity to understand the way your child thinks, to understand why your child does certain things. Remember, they are home with you for we don't know how long. Especially for those whose children have been in the boarding school, this is the time for you to sit down and rediscover your child. Because I can assure you that we can never know our children 100%. So while they are here with us at home, I will advise you, dad, I will advise you, mom, spend time with your children. Get to understand them, get to know them, get to know how they think, get to know how they see the world, get to know how they view things. This is a time for you to sit down with them and discuss anything. This is the time you will know them if you gist with them. So it's important that we model. It's important that we give positive reinforcement. It's important that we listen to them to understand the way they are thinking, the way they are reasoning, and the reason why they've done that. Why they are behaving the way they behave. And also, you have to redirect. It's not every time we come hard on them. Oh, I don't want you to do this. I want you to do that. And just move on. It's choose your battles. And then time out. Time out is not only for the little ones. Time out is also up. It's good for your teenager. He's upset. She's upset, or you're upset, and you're not getting through to him or her, and they are not getting through to. It's time for a time out. And there's nothing wrong in going for a timeout to cool down. Because the essence of you wanting to speak to your child is to correct a behavior. And if the boy is screaming, or you are screaming, or you're upset, you are angry, there is no way that you will be able to correct your child the way that it will be effective. So it's time for a timeout. It's just timeout. And you go. And then come back later and have that conversation. And it may be your child is the one that is upset. Some of the time, our kids do not understand the reason why we're upset about things. They cannot understand. If they are upset and you're upset, I beg you in the name of God, you are the adult. Take that time out. There is no shame in saying, okay, son, or okay, daughter, I can see that I'm not getting through to you. Let's have a timeout. Now, did I do that when my own were teenagers? I not all the time. I didn't. I must confess. But I thank God that I serve a God of mercy. And I believe so much in the fact that God was just merciful, and a parent that prays, the Lord is always behind them. So take that time out. And also, another thing I want to also effective tools is the fact that let us explain the reason why a behavior is acceptable, or the reason why the behavior is not acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. The reason why the behavior is acceptable and the reason why that behavior is unacceptable. So right now, just a really big recap. We've talked about discipline, what discipline is, and we said that discipline is teaching your child the behavior that is acceptable and the behavior that is not acceptable. We are saying that is also teaching your child to follow rules. And we talked about effective discipline uses effective tools such as modeling, show and tell, positive reinforcement, the high five, the good boy, the good job, anything positive that will build the confidence of your child is another effective tool for discipline. Because you are not trying to discipline your child to cause them to be depressed. You're not trying to discipline your child to cause them to have a low self-esteem. And talked about listen to them to understand their why they did that. Redirect their behavior. time out, explain the reason why that behavior is acceptable or that behavior is not acceptable. Okay, until next time, we'll continue with this discipline. So see you in a bit. Bye.